One of the ways in order to close more deals in real estate is being able to effectively schedule and go through an appointment with a motivated seller. When you are physically in person with the seller, you give yourself the highest chance of being able to close that deal, because nothing beats being able to physically see someone and develop that know, like, and trust factor. In this video, I'm going to give you guys some specific steps in order to have an effective appointment and get more contracts signed. What's up guys, my name is Lillian Chukwueze, and if you're new to my YouTube channel, welcome to the family. I drop multiple videos every week about real estate, entrepreneurship, investing, and personal finance. All I ask is that you please like the video and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hit the notification bell so you can get alerted when I drop the next video. Let's get into it. Alright, so I'm going to tell you guys one of my biggest mistakes when it comes to dealing with sellers, what I did in the first year, which was not making enough offers. So before I get into everything, I just want to let you guys know that everything that I tell you today in this video, none of it will work if you do not make the offer. You don't give yourself an opportunity to get a deal signed or get a contract signed if you don't make the offer. So please keep that in mind. No matter what, whenever you go on an appointment, make the offer. Do not leave the appointment without making an offer, which is what I did in my first year, which hurt my business without me even knowing it. Just a heads up, I actually got a lot of this information from Trang back at We Live 19 when we met at that real estate event that was held by Max Maxwell. So when I was there, I soaked up a lot of information, and I'm basically now presenting it to you guys. So the first thing you need to do when it comes to setting an appointment with the seller, before you even get to the appointment, you have to have what's called the Upfront Agreement. The reason why you have to have the upfront agreement is because this is what's going to identify the purpose of the meeting. You want to make sure that the seller knows that you have a clear outcome, whether it be a yes or a no. So one of the things you could do when you're on the phone with the seller, before you're setting an appointment, all you got to say is this. Hey Mr. Seller, before I come out there and spend all this time to analyze your property, I just want to let you know that I'm actually coming to purchase it. So if we can agree on price and terms and everything sounds good to you, would you be in a position to get some paperwork done that day? That is something you need to ask them before you go anywhere, because you need to make sure that they are serious and they're ready to actually move forward once you present an offer. So if you ask them that question and they say they wouldn't be ready to get some paperwork done that day, let them know that, hey, if you're not ready to get some paperwork done and move forward once I present you an offer, it's totally fine. But it would be a waste of both of our time for me to come out, make you an offer, and you're not actually ready to get some paperwork done or sell your property for another month, because basically my offer would be invalid at that point. I can't guarantee you that it's going to be the same offer as it is now as it would be in a month, because the market changes. So that should help them understand that you don't want to come out there and make them an offer that doesn't make sense if they're not ready to sell right now. And by doing that, you save a lot of time, because if they say yes, that they would be ready to get some paperwork done that day and that there would be nothing stopping them from doing so, then you could go ahead and set the appointment. You guys both have this upfront agreement that if everything sounds good to the seller and for you, then the seller would be ready to move forward that day. So now you finally set the appointment and you're there and you're ready to get things started. The first thing you have to do is build some rapport with the seller. Walk through the house, but be focused more so on building rapport, because the seller will basically try to just show you the house and get to the point where you're giving them the offer, but you really want to hone in on building rapport. And one of the things that you can use, or an acronym that you can use to keep in mind of the rapport building points, is FORM. The acronym FORM, which is basically family, occupation, recreation, and then motivation. These are 4 key points that you want to hit when you're on an appointment with the seller that'll basically get them to open up to you a little bit more. You really want to get to the point where you're starting to kind of build a relationship with the seller. They're starting to tell you about their family. They're teaching you things. Sometimes they even want to give you something. When you get to the point that they want to give you something, that's how you know that they like you. I was on an appointment one day, and this lady, she was loving me and my brother, and she actually gave us some of the vegetables in her vegetable garden. That's how I knew she liked us. She wanted to actually sell us that property, but she definitely want to get to the point where the seller likes you. The next thing you want to do on an appointment is uncover the pain. Now, while you're building rapport, they will hopefully start to say things about this. They might touch on it, but what your job is to basically dig into the pain a little bit more so you could get a better understanding of what's going on with their situation. So if they say something like one of the reasons why they have to sell is because, you know, they're moving or whatever, then you can ask them something to dig a little deeper. You can ask them, you know, can you tell me more about that? You know, how long has this been a problem? You know, what have you tried to do? you know, whatever the case may be. If they tell you, you know, that they don't have the money to pay for it anymore, you just ask them those questions. Dig a little bit deeper. Why do they feel this way? You know, uncover their true emotional pain when it comes to this property. The next thing you want to do is to be able to uncover price. Now, before you got to the point of the appointment, if you followed the last video that I made, one of the last videos that I made called Top 11 Questions to Ask Motivated Sellers, you should already have a price range of what they're looking to sell the property for. But whether you do or you don't have their price range already, you definitely still want to ask again, because they might actually adjust their price again. So you just ask them, what do you think this property is worth in its current condition? And then hopefully they drop their number. And this has happened with me a couple times too, where I've already talked to them about price, but I get to the property after we kind of walk through things, build a little bit of rapport. Then they might drop the price after I ask them again. And there's nothing wrong with asking them what they think that the property will sell for, or what they want for the property, multiple times. So the next thing you want to do in your seller appointment is to basically provide them with all the options possible. You know, sometimes they may not think of these things, so you want to provide them with all the options and kind of do like a bit of a pullback method. So you just ask them, you know, have you ever thought about listing it, renting it, or fixing it up, and flipping it yourself? You don't want to ask them all at once. You want to ask them one by one. So just be like, you know, have you thought about flipping it? Depending on their answer, you dig a little bit deeper into why they do want to list it or they don't. Obviously, if they do want to list it, then there's no reason for you to really be there. And if they don't want to list it and they go into why they don't want to list it, then just dig a little bit deeper on that. You definitely want to ask them the same thing when it comes to renting it or flipping it themselves. If you ask them if they consider listing it, renting it, and flipping themselves, and they give you the reasons as to why they don't want to do all three of those things, then obviously it comes down to you being the last option, which is good for you. And the last step when it comes to your seller appointment is to basically give an offer and close. So basically, when it comes to closing, you definitely want to be strong with this, but one of the questions you can ask, not saying I can, but what if I can pay you $100,000 for your property? Is that something you would consider, or probably not? Now, obviously, depending on the price range and the condition of the property, whether that's a good number or not, they'll give you some feedback, right? And you're basically not telling them that's what you would pay, because you're just simply asking a question. But depending on their answer, you could kind of go off of that. So when it comes to closing, you really got to be focused on their problem. So if they mention that they're looking to move or they have to move for whatever reason, you want to try to deal with that when it comes to closing. So you can say, well, what if I can offer you this amount of money and help you move all of your stuff to wherever you're going? Or if they say something about, you know, they can't pay for the property, you throw that into your close. What if I can get this off of your hands without you having to worry about making any more payments and pay you X amount of dollars, but whatever. You definitely want to hone in on what their problems that they mentioned earlier in the conversation, so you have a little bit of leverage and you understand like what they really need. Because if you don't understand what they really need, then price will really not be the determining factor as to whether they will sell to you or not. Now, you also got to consider the type of person that you are talking to, because there's usually a logical person that you're dealing with or a more emotional person. So if it comes to somebody who's like really logical and they're all about numbers, then obviously you want to break down the comps in the area and the rehab, you know, to be able to justify your price. And if they're really emotional, then you just want to really dive into their pain points and help them understand how you can help them out of their situation. I know when it came to a deal that I did, that me and my partner were actually able to break down the comps in the area, and it really helped this woman see what type of numbers that we need to be around in order to make this work, because she thought typically the seller will think that their property is worth a lot more, and they won't understand in comparison to what all these other houses are like in their area. So sometimes you just have to break that down and show that to them, and it might justify or help them realize like where they really need to be at in terms of numbers. And at that point, if they agree on everything, you just have them sign the contract, go through the clauses word by word, and just give them the original contract and take pictures for your own record and just keep it moving. And that's pretty much how you go through a solid, effective seller appointment. And I guarantee you, the best way to go through this whole process is to actually make the offer. But if you go through all 6 of these steps, you'll have the best chance of getting a contract signed and closing a deal. So I hope that really helped you guys when it comes to, you know, having an effective seller appointment with the seller, so you know that they're serious and you're not wasting your time. Then you obviously have to set the appointment, and when you're on the appointment, you definitely want to build rapport as you walk through the property. You want to be able to uncover that pain. You want to be able to uncover that price, present them with all the options possible, and then close the deal. So I hope that really helped you guys. If it did, please give the video a like, comment what you learned and what might help you on the next appointment. And then of course subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get alerted when I drop the next video. Until next time guys, stay safe and stay blessed. See ya.